Here. Check this out. Check out what I brought. I lift that up. Set these over. Yeah.
Why are you putting the mats down?
Well, with the rocks and stuff that are there, so it's not uneven and moving too much. I have a little bit of a buffer between the ground and that. But like with my stuff, what I'm gonna do, Lawrence, I'm gonna bring my wheels and tires. I want to weigh how much each one is. Weight is a made-up construct. Weight is, all it is the amount of force that is applied to the human body or some type of object on the planet Earth. It's a measurement of force, whereas mass is a measure. I always get the explanation of mass confused with volume, because volume is what a given object, how much space it takes up. I can't remember offhand with the technical with mass. I know in my head what mass is, but it's not weight. Mass is not weight, it's different.
Mass is density.
Sort of. Well, hang on.
That's why. That's why the Earth is flat.
Yeah, okay, the Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
Freaking
it's
flat
all
earther.
Density. Gravity doesn't exist. You just kind of said weight's a made-up construct, so welcome to the flat Earth.
I mean, when you really think about it, everything's a made-up construct. I mean,
it is all made up. It's all based on our understanding.
Well, and is that understanding actual fact? I mean, they don't know. Sometimes they guess, sometimes they're right, sometimes they're proven right.
Sometimes they just put wheels on weight scales.
None of my shit.
Can't let them see the secrets.
Whoa, what do you mean secrets? So this is your shopping car? What the hell are you letting him come in here for?
Oh, well, I used to race against them. We raced go-karts back in what, 2001?
Nah, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Did you just put a cigarette out on your boot?
Yeah, he did.
Back to modern civilization.
But yeah, we used to race go-karts against each other. We were in the same classes, and then after juniors is it's a gold plate restrictor, so you can't go as fast. After juniors, I went to lights and he went to heavies. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
And after
what do you
that,
mean, like lights and heavies? Like
go-karts is by weight class.
okay. So he was basically
if you
the scale over here, but it wasn't looking
right.
Way.
I was weighing a buck.
He was basically the left front tire of the situation.
Yeah, I was about $1.40, and he might have been $1.80. I'm one of 12 kids, and my dad, what he did was he brought one go-kart home, and he let us all time trial in it, and whoever had the fastest time got to race it. And I had the fastest time by over 2 seconds, I think. And so I started racing it. And like I said, I'm one of 12 kids. I'm the second youngest. And so by the time I was 9, I was smoking weed with my sister.
The devil's lettuce?
The devil's lettuce. And I mean, I think that marijuana is actually good for you. I just think that America demonizes it.
And maybe 9-year-olds shouldn't smoke it.
Right. I mean, you should probably be about 21, 18 to 21, I don't know, somewhere in there.
Was there a reason you went to smoking it? Was you getting hard whoopings or what?
A lot.
A lot of beating?
Yeah, a lot of beatings.
Anything to escape basically the daily...
Well, I didn't even realize there was anything to escape. It was just like, my older sister had this friend named Amanda, and I was so attracted to her.
She led you to the apple.
Yeah, yep.
They do it all the time.
They had this can, and they were, had the lighter, smoking it, and you're like, here, do this. And when she said to do it, I was like, okay. And so I hit it. I started coughing. She started laughing, and 9-year-old me was like, yeah, she wants me. The thing.
What year was this?
That was probably in 95, 96.
Power Rangers? You weren't into that. You were.
I was into Power Rangers. Yeah, man. Everybody's into Power Rangers.
She was your Pink Ranger. You wanted
She was my Pink Ranger, and.
Well, unless you had an Oriental deal going on, or it was a yellow one.
Well, I even wrote her a poem.
Oh God! Check yes or no, George Strait.
Yeah, it was so unbelievably corny. Hi, baby. This is my 2-year-old. It's her birthday today.
Happy birthday, Mia.
Happy birthday! Here, go with Kylie. But, so, here, go out with Mom.
Oh, that's the other thing too. Why I like working on the car with them. It's a family thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
But.
So you're smoking weed. You're trying to bang the hot girl in
Yeah,
town.
I mean, trying to, but I mean, I'm 9 years old. I mean, I haven't got a hair coming for years yet.
Right.
And then through a bunch of shit that happened with my dad and my sister and the court system and children and youth and stuff.
What do you mean? What happened there?
My sister. So out in New Mexico, there's a bunch of gangs.
This is where this is all going down. You grew up in New Mexico?
Yeah. Out in New Mexico, I mean, there's tons and tons of gang violence, and my sister was part of it. And she would always sneak out.
What town?
It's called Clovis, New Mexico.
Is that near El Paso and stuff? Or is it more so Albuquerque?
It's about 4 hours away from Albuquerque.
Towards Arizona or towards Texas?
Towards Texas.
Towards Texas.
It's like
so Amarillo, almost Amarillo.
It's about an hour from Amarillo, an hour from Roswell. Like Roswell is
a joke.
Man, you just drive through there. You ever been to Roswell?
Yeah, I've been through it.
I mean, there's just alien stuff everywhere. Everything alien.
The greatest alien distraction of history is Roswell, New Mexico.
I mean,
there's more stuff in Utah or Phoenix. Or, well, actually, the Petrified Natural Forest is a good one. But anyway.
But, yeah, so
something, she was in the gangs and stuff?
Yeah, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I had witnessed, a couple weeks earlier, I had witnessed her getting raped. And the guy's name was Johnny Bender. I'll never forget his name. I'll never forget his face. I'll hate him till the day I die. And I witnessed that. And being so young, there was nothing I could do to stop it.
How old were you?
I was probably 10.
10.
And I remember I got this billy club and I hit him with it. And he just looked at me like, are you serious? And
so this was an older guy.
Yeah.
And your sister was how old?
She was probably 16.
And he was probably what, mid-20s, 30?
18 or 19.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like an old guy.
No, it was her ex-boyfriend, and she broke up with him, and he just wasn't having it. You know. I mean, he was a big guy. I remember him but I don't know how tall he was because everyone looked tall to me back then.
Right, you were 9.
Like,
or 10.
if I had to say, it'd be like 6'4", but I don't know how tall he is. But, yeah, he just kind of threw me out of the room, and about 2 weeks later, I was having a nightmare about it.
So basically, at 10 years old, you witnessed
my sister getting raped.
And you couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
You basically just had to hear and watch your sister get raped.
Yeah.
At 10 years old.
Yeah. Yep.
That had to do that. Hey, well, if the dad whoopings made you go to weed, I can only imagine what that made you go to.
Well, I mean, me trying to be
that's pretty stressful. That's pretty. Well, I know, but it just it puts the oil in the pool.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. Next thing I know, 2 weeks later, I had a nightmare, and I went to go wake her up, and she wasn't there. And I freaked out, and I knocked on my parents' bedroom door.
So did anyone ever hear about the brother or the sister getting raped, or
I don't remember. Like, it's all kind of just like a blur. Like, I know it happened, I know I saw it, but I don't know anything for like the next couple of days. I don't know. You would think I'd know every little detail, but I don't. Like, I know.
Well, at that age, your memory's kind of
right. I mean, I could
hazy.
tell you what his face looks like. I could tell you what haircut he had. I could tell you what he was wearing. I could tell you what color his boxers were. But anything other than that, I just can't. It's just not there. I think maybe sometimes your mind blocks stuff out to help protect you. Protect you from yourself, I guess. But when I went to go wake her up, she wasn't there. I told my parents because I was scared. I was scared shitless. And when she came back, she snuck back through her window, and we heard it. And my dad cut all her hair off. He was like, "You want to sneak out? You want to do this? You want to do that? We'll see if the boys like you now." And he cut all her hair off. And the next day...
That was his way of like, well, punishment time.
I just don't think he knew what else to do. I think he was just like lost. Like, what do you do with a child who's in a gang? Like, you don't have any control. You know?
So she had already got over it, getting raped?
She just acted like it was no big deal. But it was a huge deal to me. Like, ginormous deal. You know? I'll never forget it. And she just acted like it was no big deal. I mean, I remember her face, she looked terrified. So I ran and got the billy club and I hit him in the back with it. And he just turned around and picked me up, threw me out the door, locked the door, and shut it.
So, okay, so the hair gets cut off. What's the next step?
So she went to school the next day, and CYS stepped in and took her. That was the last time I saw my sister, other than when she moved up here in her mid to late 20s. She moved up here for a little bit, but then moved right back down to New Mexico. Like, she's hooked back on drugs right now. But
So basically, it sounds like he cut her hair, CPS was like, or CYS.
well, I think it's CPS down there.
Yeah, CPS, something like
Same
that.
thing.
Child Protective Services.
Yeah.
They took her away, and then I guess they blamed your dad, or what happened with that ordeal?
So they blamed my dad. She took my parents to court for neglect, abuse, a bunch of stuff. And
Did they make you testify?
they came and drug me out of class and asked me a bunch of questions, and I just denied everything. You know, I don't know why. You know.
What do you mean denied everything?
They asked if he was ever abusive. They asked if, you know, I'd ever seen him abuse anybody. You know, if he yells, if he screams, you know. And
Which he did, I guess. He was whooping y'all and all that. But
I mean,
you were just like not wanting to get your dad taken away, basically.
I mean,
it's weird when you're in that, because my dad whooped my ass too. It's weird because it's like, you grow up, when you get your ass whooped, which a lot of us rednecks and white boys do, it's like weird because your dad's like your best friend and always there for you and he'll stand up for you, but then you do a little something wrong and you're getting beat the shit out of by somebody you love. It's fucking, I kind of think it's psychologically damaging for as a kid to learn somebody who loves you will beat the fuck out of you. It's kind of fucking weird.
I mean, my very first childhood memory is getting beat.
Right.
I mean,
because pain is a universal language, unfortunately.
Right. I mean, my very first memory is my head going into the side of a toolbox drawer, and it split me wide open.
So there's a lot of us that are struggling, and even I think that's how some bad relationships actually get formulated, is because we're used to somebody who loves us, and I'm speaking as far as like people who are whooped by their dad. We're used to somebody who cares about us and everything causing pain. So then we get into these relationships where they're not necessarily great, but because we were grown up at a young age thinking that, well, even though they're hurting me now, they still love me.
Right.
It fucks with you when it fucks with you when you're dealing with regular people or not your parents. You know, it's
I
weird.
didn't know it wasn't normal until I was about 18. You know, I thought everyone got beat.
Well, a majority of us do. They just don't talk about it either.
When I found out it wasn't normal was when my buddy was here. We were working on a sink, and the threads broke off, and my dad was pissed, and he was going at me, and my buddy grabbed him and threw him off of me, and we left. And he said, "Why do you let him do that?" And I was like, "It's my dad." You know, like, what do you mean? And I said, don't you? And he's like, no. He's like, my dad's never touched me like that.
Yeah, it's fucked up how we take that as normal. You hear the word or the phrase "tough love" when you hear from politicians and stuff like that,
Right.
and it trickles into society where it manipulates us through love. It manipulates us through our daily decisions and how we view the world. You know,
Right.
if a guy doesn't do something, don't pay him. You know, ruin his life. You know, treat him a lesson. Giving him or a woman cheats on you, or it's all different levels of I love you pain. It's
Right.
like that makes no fucking sense at all. It's just oddly weird.
Well, I actually went to college to be a psychiatrist, and it just wasn't for me. Just too many people bawling over shit that they can control.
Right.
You know? Bawling because...
Well, and then that's also how you could look at if you can get the whoopings and deal with a bad parent or something and then get out of life from that era and then see it as, well, that's fucked up and wrong, you can also start seeing more perspectives of life because you've been there.
Right.
You know, you see that era, you see the people who haven't got, you know, the whoopings, or you have it, you know,
Right.
you go to the extremes of emotions, that way you can better understand the emotions of people around you.
I think now we're on the other extreme of the spectrum where people are so afraid to punish their kids that, I mean, I see kids being hellions. You know, running through the grocery store telling their mom, fuck you, you know, like, man, if I ever said that to my mom, oh, dear God.
Now, see, that's where it's a hard deal, is that, are you supporting the whoopings?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's not supposed to happen, but
See,
at the same time, that's why I say pain is the universal language, because if your kid don't understand language, like no,
right. Like, I could
a
support,
whooping gets you to be, you know.
I could support a smack on the ass. I can't support a fist to the face.
Right.
You know? I can't support, you know, throwing someone across the room.
What about whoopings to the belt, bleeding and stuff like that? And
I mean, I've had belts, paddles, switches. And, you know, me personally, your hand's enough. You know, like, there's no reason to get a belt.
Basically, they get indulged with being the slave master.
Right. And I think a lot of times spankings are out of anger.
Right.
More than discipline, they're more out of anger. Now, if my son does something wrong, you know, I'll sit him down. I'm like, all right, you're going to get 3 spankings, or you're going to get 2 spankings, to make it where, you know, he understands why it's happening. He understands why he's being punished. He understands that I love him and that I still care about him, but that he needs punished for what he's done.
So even though all the shit was fucked up with your dad and the whoopings, it taught you what was wrong, so
Right.
that you can kind of do what's right. Because you got to see what's wrong to be able to do what's right.
Exactly.
Period. You know, it's just like this race car over here. You got to fuck it up before you can figure out, don't do it again.
Right. I mean, you gotta. I can't say, you know, I started off, you know, losing. I didn't. I actually, my very first race, I won. You know, I started out winning. That's why right now it's just awkward, because I'm not winning.
So that happens with the CPS or whatever. You're not telling them what's going on. You want to protect your dad because you still, even though it's a horrible situation, you're still in it. You don't know any better. You're ignorant to the fact.
You'd rather the chaos.
You'd rather keep your dad and the whoopings than lose your dad. Period.
Right. What it is the human brain would rather keep the chaos that it's in than what's unknown, and that's what it is. I was more scared of the unknown than I was of the chaos.
Comfortably numb, basically.
That's a terrific song, but yeah.
It's a song, but that's basically the moral of the story is comfortable in the chaos. So then, what was the next step after
So they
that?
went to court for a while, and then they deemed my sister not credible because none of her stories would line up. Because she did lie a lot, and she would try to exaggerate. And when she would
It's funny how Disney tells us women are just perfect and they never lie. But you get in the real world,
right?
Here it is.
I mean, so yeah, I mean, she was deemed not credible. We came up here to visit my pap. He was bleeding from the brain, and he kept saying about dying. And we went back, sold everything within 2 weeks, moved up here, and here we are.
How were you then?
I was 12.
So you're still smoking the weed and all that, I guess.
Still smoking weed, came up here, didn't know anybody, so that stopped for a little bit until I went to school. Went to school, hung out with the older kids, started drinking, smoking some more. And then by the time I was 14, I got into pills.
How did the pills come about?
I think I hurt my leg. The kid at school had them, and I hurt my leg, and he was like, here you go.
Opium, Oxycontin?
Yeah, it was an Oxycontin 80. And all I did was take a little chunk of it, and I felt wonderful, and I was like, wow, this is like heaven. And and then
did you ever try to stop the pill popping, or did you just keep doing it because it felt good? It's like, fuck
I just
it,
kept doing it. Like after that, like I'd be like, hey, you got any more of those? You got any more of those? And my brother actually I can't remember if he beat him up or if he threatened to beat him up. There was a guy that gave me a bunch of pills, and I took all of them.
Was it all Oxycontins or just a variety?
It was,
so you start with the Oxycontins, you started going off into the other.
Yeah, trying anything and everything.
Right. Quaaludes, all that.
Right. I've never had a Quaalude, but
Well, there was some rap
Almost
song where a
famous.
guy. There's some rap song. I think it was Lil Whitey or something. Came out with this song talking about pills. I'm like, what the fuck? I never done any pill popping shit, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, pharmaceutical makes a lot of money off of fucking people's lives.
Legal drugs, yeah. But there's some pretty famous racers out there that have a pill problem, but you don't hear about it because
I mean,
it's okay.
What was it? Jamie McMurray had a meth problem. Wasn't that Jamie McMurray?
Jeremy Mayfield.
Yeah, Jeremy Mayfield.
Well, that's debatable. I think he had an Aaron Crocker, Ray Evernham problem.
I know what I did. I got hit by a car. That's what happened. I was in the Bloomfield. I was going from one alley to another because there was a guy chasing me that wanted to hurt me. His name was Mike Reed from West Perry. He was chasing me along with some of his friends. I was riding my bike trying to get away, and I never stopped. And when I went to go, I got hit by the car, went underneath the car, and this lady was like freaking out. Like, she was like, oh my God, and I thought she was going to pass out. And I was like, no, I'm good. And I went to go stand up, and I fell right back down. I couldn't stand up.
But the pills fixed it.
When I went back to school and they gave me pills, I was like, all right. Okay.
So you started having pill addictions. Guy gave you, and your brother or somebody beat the dude up and gave you all the pills.
Yeah, I mean, my brother was pissed because I was throwing up. I threw up for like 2 days straight, but I had no pain. I had tons of energy. Like, I don't know what all I took, but I just took everything he gave me. But
that's the pharmaceutical methamphetamine would be Adderall, correct?
Right, Adderall, Ritalin. Mm-hmm. Like, my son's on Adderall right now.
And there's a lot of people on the Adderall because it's legal meth.
I mean, he actually did need it. Like, he could not focus in school at all. Like, his grades were horrible. And so
maybe the school was horrible. School is horrible.
Well, once we put him on the meds, his grades went from like, D's and F's to B's and A's. He just needed that focus. I wish we would have maybe had medical marijuana then. Because like maybe, I don't know, I just feel like he's going to be hooked on those pills the rest of his life. He's going to feel like he needs them the rest of his life. And I don't think you do.
Right, maybe he would have been focused on something he wanted to be focused on without any of it.
Right.
But regardless, so after you had this whole pill deal go down, what happened?
I started doing cocaine.
What age was that?
14, started doing coke. Started selling coke. And
did you ever get in with some bad people?
I mean, I don't consider them bad. They were my friends.
Dangerous people?
Dangerous, without a doubt, dangerous. But
what's some dangerous stuff you saw some friends do?
I've seen houses get robbed. I've seen people get jumped. We've robbed people. Anything. We had a saying that was the saying was, "Are you down for the cause?" And down for the cause meant, are you ready to rob today? Are you ready to steal? Are you ready to do whatever you got to do to get high? I mean, I was still racing. My dad had no idea that I was using. Well, he did. He used to yell it out the back door. His thing was, "Kathy, he's on drugs." And I'd be like, "No, I'm not." You know, and I'd be like, "Fuck you, old man." And he was right. I was.
So what happened? Progresses. It just goes year after year like that?
Well, when I was 17, I tried heroin for the first time.
But you'd already had the Oxycontin experience,
Yeah.
the opium.
Yep. I mean, pretty much.
And you were still on it?
Oh yeah.
So then you just, what, did you not have any Oxycontin? Just had heroin pop
Yeah,
up? Was it a girl?
I didn't have any pills, and
because that's how heroin addictions went up. Is because they're after Afghanistan, the war, when we took over all the opium fields. That's when Oxycontin was prescribed for everything. You got a hurt finger, here's Oxycontin.
Yep.
Then they jacked Oxycontin prices up to help the underworld, because once they can't afford the higher price Oxycontin, the people who are addicted to opium now go to heroin. And that's why the heroin crisis is where it's at.
I mean,
set up.
Like, I was around for the heroin epidemic in Pennsylvania. I mean, it's still an epidemic, but
it's all based on the rising cost of opioids with Oxycontin.
Right.
And doctors stopped prescribing it because they didn't need it, but the patients were addicted because of the increased prescription to everyone.
Well, and that's what happened is they were giving it to everybody, right? And then, you know, the government stepped in and shut a lot of these doctors down. So then you have all.
I think the corporation got sued for like $600 million, but I think they estimated that they made like 100 and something billion. So they didn't really take a loss.
It's over 100 billion.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, but they got sued for 800 or something million or 600. But
like it was a bullshit fucking case.
Well,
right?
and
it
was directly aligned to political relatives. I mean, come on.
Right. I mean,
it's so sad. But all 9/11. So 9/11. Keep going.
But so yeah, I mean, all these people got kicked off their meds. What do they have? Like
street drugs, heroin. It's cheaper.
Like dope sickness is the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life.
The opium.
Like dope sickness from Oxycontin and heroin. I mean,
because it's So you ran out of the pills and you went to the heroin.
I ran out of the pills. I asked the guy if he had. He said no. He said I have this, and he showed me a bag, and I was like, I don't want that. I said I'm not a fucking junkie. And a day later, when I was really, really sick, I said, hey.
What is the sickness like for opium?
So if you're dope,
because I've never done it once. I've only done the weed.
Had the flu,
I haven't done the weed in a long time, but I've only done the weed. That's my extensive drug experience.
You've had the flu, right?
Yeah, I've had the flu.
Okay, imagine the flu times 10. Yeah, I mean, just you
so it's not like a cigarette need. It's more like an actual physical pain.
You're sick. I mean, you are deathly sick. Like, I mean, you had the flu times 10. Your legs feel like they're breaking off. I mean, my legs.
So there's physical pain?
Oh, yeah. And then, like, the only thing that would help is I cranked the hot water up the whole way and I'd lay in the bathtub just so that I could sleep for 10 minutes. Because you can't sleep. And when you lay down in bed, the entire bed gets soaked with sweat. And you're freezing cold, but yet you're hot. And it's just, you know, or you're freezing cold and you're sweating. So now the entire bed is just completely soaked, and which makes it worse. Dope sickness is no joke. I mean, it is without a doubt the worst thing I've ever been through. He said that, and I was like, look, I'm not a junkie. But then after I got sick, I said, hey, give me the bag. And he said, listen, he said, there's only one way you're doing this bag. He said, you ain't wasting it. I was like, wasting it? He said, the only way you're doing it is if you're shooting it. And
well, what is the ways people do heroin? Obviously,
I mean,
we hear about
so here-
we saw Pulp Fiction,
Right.
you know, where he melts it in the spoon and he shoots
so
it up.
here in Pennsylvania, it's pretty much powder. You can snort it. You know.
I thought snorting heroin would mess you up.
What do you mean mess you up?
Like that's what happened in Pulp Fiction, where she snorted the heroin. She like went into a seizure or whatever.
She just did too much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was all she did.
That's my extensive heroin knowledge.
Yeah, she did too much and overdosed. But it wouldn't actually be like that. Like, it would actually take a while to snort it. Now, if you shoot it, I mean, like...
It's instant.
Yeah, like, when I shot it, I overdosed probably 10 seconds later. You know what I mean? Like, by the time it went through my body, and next thing I know, I'm waking up with my ex, you know, on my chest, freaking out. Yeah, but...
So you did it for the first time and did too much?
The guy, he was a dick. You know, he was like, the only way you're doing it is if, you know, you're shooting it. And I was scared deathly of needles, but I wanted to just be unsick. So I gave him my arm, and I turned away. And I closed my eyes, and he shot me up, and it was the best love I've ever had in my life. It made everything go away. It made everything that ever hurt my feelings go away. It made all my pain go away. It made me feel what I would deem normal. You know, like when you look at some people and you're like, man, they must have everything. That's how it made me feel. It made me feel like I was amazing. You know, it made me feel like I was great.
So it made you feel way better than the Oxycontin did.
Well, I think it was because
you was fiending for it pretty much. You was at a point where you were hurting and all that too.
Because snorting it, I was snorting the oxy. I shot the heroin, and shooting is a whole different animal. Like snorting, yeah, you feel good, but shooting that's the animal right there. Like once you put that needle in your arm, it's over. Like you're gonna fall in love, and you're either gonna die, you're gonna go to jail, you're gonna lose everything. That's the only three choices.
So what happened after the?
So after that, I stopped doing pills. I just went straight for heroin because it was cheaper.
Right, exactly.
Heroin back then was, you know, $10 a bag compared to $80 for a pill. You know.
Well, and you could. I'm assuming you could make it last longer too,
right?
Without having to with melting it and all that.
I mean, you can make it last longer because it's more potent.
Right.
You know, or well, that's the bad thing is, you know, you can get one batch that's very, very, very potent, and the next batch could be bullshit. You know, it could be complete junk, and you wouldn't feel anything. So you had to really trust your dealer. You know, you had to trust the guy you were getting it from. We ended up starting to run the Philly. I bought my first house when I was 18, which that didn't help anything at all.
So you were making money throughout this whole ordeal?
I was going to work, working hard. You know, I've worked ever since I was like 12,
So you
13.
was an active, functioning worker throughout this entire pill, heroin addiction?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. My dad instilled in me that you work, and you work hard, and you work your ass off, and that's how you make it through life. And so, I mean, I started working at a farm, just making money, saving money, and my parents, you know, they helped me get a credit card, and it had a $500 limit, and I'd pay that off every month, and just build up my credit. I bought a truck that I could have paid cash for, but I took out a loan, and I paid that off.
To build credit.
To build credit, because credit's what you need here in America, I guess, you know.
Right.
And so
everything's going good.
Right.
Even though you're doing the heroin, you're still going to work. You're still making things happen. What?
I'm selling heroin. So
making money on the side, cash money, no IRS.
We're looking at like $500,000 a year.
And where was the racing at?
So racing is, you know.
At that point, where was racing? Were you just building? You were just building money, or what were you running?
I was still racing. At that time, I was racing micros, and my first year, I won Rookie of the Year. I came in 3rd overall in points.
In
know.
PA? In PA?
In PA.
What micros? 270, 600?
600s.
600?
I ran my first year I ran an RTS, a 2004 RTS with a Yamaha engine. My second year I ran a Hyper with a 636 Kawasaki engine. And my second year I was 19, and my dad found out about the heroin, and he said, "You're done." He's like, "You're not racing anymore."
So is that where everything started turning? How did he find out about it?
I have no idea.
He just found out that
Yeah,
you
he
were
just
doing
found
it
out,
every
like-
day, all the time.
Yeah, I came over one day to work on the car. It was like the day before the race, and it wasn't here. He sold it. He just sold it. Now he walked in on me one time huffing gas.
Like the paint cleaners?
No, gas, like out of the generator. Like we had a generator to keep all our lights
So
going.
you were basically doing anything you could to get
Anything
high?
to get high, man.
On any type of high?
Any type of high. Gas, I hallucinated and saw all types of shit, and I had music playing. I'd be out here till 2, 3, 4 in the morning working on the race car, working on the go-karts, and, I'd go over and get high, come back, work on it, and, that's what I would do. And
So everything was going great, and then it seems like, is that when shit turned, was when he found out?
No.
That's where shit turned with racing, at least.
That's when racing was over with, and all I had was my memories, and, by that time everyone knew what I was doing, everyone knew I was getting high, and nobody would offer me a ride, everyone knew I could race, I can drive, but no one was willing to put up with the chaos.
So then where did life go from there?
So then I started working more, and I started going out to bars when I was like 18, 19, getting served, and I met this girl.
Oh no, the women.
Yeah,
Here it goes.
I met this girl, and she loved, oxys, and she came to my house one night, and she had a boyfriend at the time, and he was pissed at her because she had gotten some crack, even though he was a cokehead. God forbid you smoke crack, which it's one and the same. It's the same damn thing. You just smoke the one, and the other one you smoke.
One's with baking soda and all that.
Pretty much, but it's the same drug. It's the same.
Well, I guess cocaine addicts would say, I've done my research on that. Cocaine addicts would say cocaine is from a plant, and then they do all they do to make it cocaine. Right. And then after they do all that they do, some guy, with the oven and some baking soda water does what he does, and then it makes more money. You're able to take, and it makes more money with the crack.
You can freebase it, take some baking soda and a spoon and slowly just start mixing, I've made crack, I've done it all, man.
So this girl, here comes, we was talking about the women earlier.
Yeah,
here comes Lilith. Lilith is walking into the picture now. For those who don't know who Lilith is, look her up. It wasn't just Adam and Eve, ladies and gentlemen. Keep going. What did Lilith do?
Look up Lilith, but
look up Lilith.
But
the Jesuits know.
We stayed up all night talking, smoking crack, and I was like, man, this chick's really cool, and she was a beautiful woman. Stunning. And so we started hanging out a lot. She eventually broke up with her boyfriend and we started dating. She actually took me out for my 21st birthday in Reading. We went to this bar at 10 o'clock and they wouldn't serve me because I was still 20 years old. I had to wait till midnight to be served. But so I came back at midnight and they served me, and we started dating that night. And we started dating on my 21st birthday. And I got introduced to another friend of hers, and he was just like me. He was down for the cause, and we really hit it off. He became my best friend, and he was dating her twin sister. She's a twin. And
Did they ever mix it up on you, literally?
No. I joked about it one time, and she about beat the living shit out of me. Like, that was a very, very toxic relationship. That was probably the most toxic relationship I've ever been in.
So you were basically with her for the looks and the drug affiliate.
For the
basically,
looks,
everybody got together with doing the same down for the cause situation.
Right. I mean,
it was comfortably numb once again.
Like, I thought I loved her, you know. I thought I was in love with her, but there's no way you can be in love with somebody and be a heroin addict, because you love that heroin more than you love anybody. You know, that's just how it goes.
So y'all were just basically flocking together, and she was hot.
Yep, pretty much. And we had my son, and I mean, I've never told anyone, you know, other than like my real close friends, but when my son was being born, I ran into my dealer in the hospital, and his son was being born. And our way of celebrating was to go to each other's bathrooms and speedball, which is you mix cocaine and you mix heroin together and shoot them both at the same time. I mean, like I said, I own my own house.
So after you had your son, what happened then? What's the next step?
So like I was getting high the entire time.
But you still had everything.
You still had everything.
You still had the house. You still had the truck. You still had the job, the money.
Man, I had more money than I knew what to do with. And
why didn't you get a car on your own at that point? Was you just too busy and everything else?
Yeah, racing wasn't even there. You know, the only thing that was there was getting high, having sex, doing drugs, and living the lifestyle. You know, the lifestyle is, you know, feeling like you're needed, you know, because all these people need their drugs. I thought I had tons of friends, but...
So what happened? I'm sure something turned.
So what happened was, I got caught.
What age?
I think I was 21, 22.
So right after, was it because of her, the chick? Did she get you caught up in something?
I might have been 23. I can't remember what age I got caught first. But I went down there with my buddy, my best friend. He's a preacher now, actually, believe it or not. It's crazy, but yeah, he's a preacher. But we were down in Harrisburg, and he kept saying he wanted to pull over and get high, and I never liked doing that. I liked getting high on the drive because I felt if we got pulled over, the cops could be there. And sure enough, he pulled in, and he wouldn't get out of the driver's seat, and sure enough, we had pulled into an undercover sting and never knew it. And the cops pulled in and had us surrounded. And we always said we weren't going to go to jail sick. And so my phone rang. I went to go answer, and the cop ripped my phone out of my hand and slammed it on the hood of the car. As soon as he did that, my buddy had his needle ready with everything in it, and he just jammed it in his arm. And the cop pulled his gun, was telling him to pull the needle out of his arm, and he pushed it in and pulled it out, showed it to the cop, set it down, and the cop said, "I'll tell you one thing," he said, "you got fucking balls." And that cop fucked me up. He was so mad. Man.
They beat you or what?
Yeah, like I was already cuffed up, and they told me to get down. So when you're cuffed up, you can't just like drop, you know. And so I'm trying to get down, and he just grabbed the back of my pants and by my belt, tripped me up, and I went inverted, slammed on my face on the asphalt, and he just started like stomping on my neck. And I was like, "Is this really necessary?" And he said, "Shut the fuck up." And he's like, "You're a piece of shit." I mean, and
no Black Lives Matter showing up then, huh?
No Black Lives Matter. You know, we went to the jail, and they cleaned me up and everything before they even took my pictures. You know, because they messed me up. My face was pretty beat up. And
what county was this?
That was Dauphin County, Swatara Police Department. No, it wasn't Officer Lex. Officer Lex was the one who transported me. He forgot to seatbelt me in, and a skunk ran across the road and slammed on the brakes, and I slammed my face off the glass. But Officer Lex was a cool dude. He actually cared. The other guy, he didn't. He just...
The one who fucked you up?
Yeah, he didn't care. He's just... in it to be a prick, I guess. The officer Lex cared. And,
So you got in trouble, you got caught, you're in jail,
yeah,
I guess you're...
in jail. My buddy, he had 3 warrants out for his arrest in 3 different counties, so...
And this was your first time?
This was my first time. And, they released me. I went back to the car.
How did they release you? They didn't have no evidence, or it was all on him, or what happened?
No, so...
Pre-trial release, or?
Well, I used to take a Crown Royal bag with me, right? And I used to hook it around the hoop here and go around and tuck it underneath my nuts, and that's where I would keep all my stuff. And I had that out underneath my seat, you know, because with the cop just kind of, you know, zooming in, I didn't have time to put it back. And they found it underneath my seat, and they asked if it was mine, and I said yeah, you know. I wasn't going to let anyone else take the blame for it.
Right.
And there was bullets in the car because the guy in the back seat had just got done target practicing. And so they thought there was a gun in the car, and they were so pissed trying to get this gun that wasn't even there. And that's why the cop was fucking me up, because I needed to know, he wanted to know where the gun was. And there was no gun. But, so got caught, got in trouble.
I'm just trying to figure out how they released you. Why did they release you?
Oh, because I got charged. You know, I mean, I'm already charged by that time.
You didn't do bail or anything, so they just basically pre-trial released you. Because you still had a trial date.
Yep, still went to trial. The judge hated my guts. You know, the officer brought up everything that happened. Told him about, you know, my buddy shooting up in front of him, you know, and, yeah, so I went to trial. They gave me a year probation, because they only found me with a little bit of crack and a needle, and, like, a couple bags of heroin. So, you know, it's not going to be a big sentence, it's just, you know, probation. And
some kind of Narcotics Anonymous classes or something? Or?
I'd do, what was it called back then?
Wasn't AA, it was...
No, but NA is what saved my life eventually, but no.
So, okay, so you got that, you got some kind of treatment requirement deal, or...
Yeah, I forget what it's called. It's some class you got to do, and it expunges it off your record. And so I did that, and then...
Did you go right back while you were on probation? Were you doing shit?
Yeah, I mean...
Because you were hurting, I'm assuming, in jail, or did you not stay in there long enough to hurt?
No, I was only in jail for like an hour.
Okay.
You know, they processed me and did everything, you know, gave me some paperwork, so that I received some paperwork in the mail, and, you know, then that would be my court date. And so I called up my buddy, he took me back to the car. I searched the car to see if they got all the drugs out, and they missed some cracks, so the first thing I did was got high.
Right.
Like, first thing I did when I got back to the car.
So you just thought that would be a one-off deal, I'm never getting caught again, that was just the first one and only?
It's just I didn't care. Like, my give a fuck was done. Like, I didn't care about
it. It had pretty much been gone since 9 or 10 since your sister deal happened.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, I mean, there was some more shit that happened in childhood, but...
It all added up. It all just kept going.
Yep, I mean, I found out the guy I thought was my dad isn't my dad. You know, stuff like that. Which, I'm happy he's not. He's a piece of shit. You know, I've seen him once in my life. You know, he was always the guy that promised to come and see you, but just never showed up. So, you know, I'll take the dad that I have. You know, like, yeah, he might have been abusive. Yeah, he might have been mean, but he was there.
Right.
And I've made peace with it. I honestly think he was just doing the best he could. Best he knew how.
Right.
And I'm okay with that.
So, you had the first catch deal. What happened from there? It sounds like you're saying you got caught again.
Yep, I'm on probation, and I'm still selling dope, and still using...
They didn't have you pee testing at the...
Well, they do, but So
The beauty of those drugs is you're clean for after a few days.
well, so at first I'm waiting for my court date. That takes a couple months, and then probation. That takes like a month to set up. So I'm still using, and I actually got pulled over again, and it was by the drug task force, and I had everything in my Crown Royal pouch, and I had it tucked away this time, and they asked me if I had anything. I said no, and they searched me, and they asked me what I was doing there, and I made a believable lie. The believable lie was, I'm here because earlier I came down and got crack, and the guy shorted me. He told me to come here tonight and that he'd make it up. And they believed me, and they said, well, as long as you don't have anything on you, we'll let you go, and, have a good night. And so that's what happened. Other than my buddy, he had a rock on him. He had a crack rock on him. Turns out he was holding out on us. But that rock ended up landing him in jail, and me and my ex drove home that night.
Was this the same chick?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Same chick. Got home. Nerves were shot from being pulled over for about an hour. First thing I did was get high. That was my love. So then I get on probation, and my probation officer, she's like, Lawrence, I don't think you're a bad person. She's like, you have a heart of gold. She said, you just have a drug problem. And I just couldn't stop. I kept using, and I was faking my drug test. And I honestly believe that there was a guy that was buying from me that owed me a lot of money, and I cut him off. And he had the same probation officer I did. And I think he told her.
Also, that's what happened next. Somebody narked on you with the probation officer.
Yeah, he told on me, and I came in to do a urine, and I was faking all my urine, so it was looking like I was passing, but I would have melted the cup. And so I do the urine, and she's like, oh, there's something wrong with this, acting like there's something wrong with the test. She's like, you need to take another one. And I was like, well, I gotta go to work, I don't have time. She's like, Lauren, sit down. And I sat down, she pretty much said they knew. And I asked them who told, and she didn't tell me exactly, but she was like, she led me to who told. And next thing I know, probation officer comes in, and I asked him front or back, meaning like, are you going to cuff me up front or cuff me in the back? He cuffed me in the back, and I went from Eckman County to Trinidad County to Dauphin County. Like, each county wanted me. So I stayed in jail for a while, and then got out again, went right back to it.
So what ended up happening? This just kept going over and over?
So eventually what happened was I did about a year. I got caught up again, and this time I was looking at 2 to 5 years. And I was scared. And my probation officer actually came and saved me. She talked to, because I had 3 probation officers, and she talked to the other 2 and was like, look, like, this is a good guy. I think we need to take him and have some leniency and just let him dry out. And
it sounded like you were on the crack more than the heroin at this point?
Oh, no, I was
just on everything.
Anything and everything. I mean, if it made me feel a certain type of way, I was taking it. I was what you call a garbage can. And
then you went to jail for a year?
I went to jail. I was in jail for a while, and then I ended up having to do a DOC rehab.
So you was probably withdrawn in jail. That had to be pretty tough.
Like that. Whew, that was the worst. Oh man. It was weeks, because I was also on methadone, and methadone lasts in your body for like a month. So I was withdrawing for weeks after weeks after weeks. And finally, they sent me to a rehab, and I hated everybody there. I hated the techs. And there was one tech there. His name is Nathaniel Mallory. And one day he pulled me aside. I mean, I insulted this guy in front of everybody every day. Called him an asshole. Called him a chode. I mean, just disrespectful. And he pulled me aside and he said, "Why are you so mad?" And what he did is he told me about his life, you know. And when he told me about his life, I might not have accepted him that day, but he earned my respect that day. And that's when I started listening. And as soon as I started listening, it was an NA program, it was an NA rehab. And I started learning about like the 12 steps, and I was there for a while. And I mean, I was literally 2 seconds from getting kicked out and doing 2 to 5 years upstate. And he just kind of saved me at the right time. And then I went up to Altoona. I had to do a halfway house before I could come home. And it's crazy how the world works, because I was going to stay in Altoona with some friends that I made, and I couldn't find a job. Nobody would hire me.
I guess you had felonies.
I don't have any felonies, but I have a very, very lengthy rap sheet. It's like
drug usage.
Drug use, I mean, all types of stuff.
Selling, all kinds.
I mean, it's like 5 pages long. It's pretty lengthy.
And what age are you at this point?
25. I got clean, it was July 7th, 2012. That was the last time I had.
And how old were you then?
I was 25.
25 is when you quit.
Mm-hmm.
So from 23 to 25, all this happened. The downhill.
Yeah, I mean.
What happened to the girl?
So she's my son's mom. She's, you know, clean. My son, he doesn't know anything. I think he was 2 years old when I got clean. Yeah, so he doesn't know. I'm sure he knows something. Like, his stepdad hates my guts, so I would imagine he's probably, you know, bad talked me a few times. But I get my son every weekend. Yeah, like, me and the girl get along, you know. To me, she's still one of my friends. I'm still one of her friends. We were just toxic for each other while getting high. I don't know.
So basically going to jail is what saved it at the end of the day, getting away from it forcibly.
I think if I had just stayed in jail, I think I would have came back out and got high again. Because when I was in jail, I made more connections than when I was out. I mean, I made so many connections in jail. I was moving heroin.
But you were having to. You still got the drugs when you were in jail.
Right. I was in laundry, and it would come in, and I would take it out throughout the jail. And, you know, I got, you know, free heroin for it. So I was using in jail. And, I mean, there's drugs in jail. Like,
right. It's even more valuable.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. But I think what got me clean was, you know, Nathaniel opening up to me and saying that I was hurt. I had a lot of shit. And, I think Abby saying that, like, I didn't want to be the person I was being.
Probation officer?
Yeah, the probation officer. I didn't want to be the person I was being. I had to be. You know, I didn't want to rob people. I didn't want to have to wake up.
But the addiction, the love, as you call it.
I didn't want to wake up and have to be down for the cause. But I would have rather did that than be sick. Being sick is horrible. I mean, you feel like you're dying.
But now you got removed from it for so long.
Right.
You just know what it's like, but it's not worth both feelings.
Right. I mean, so dope sickness from heroin lasts like a week, maybe 2. But like these maintenance programs they got, like, you know, like the methadone and stuff like that stuff lasts months, but it's not as hardcore. Like dope sickness from heroin is hardcore. I mean, you're constantly puking, shit, and everything. But it's what I needed. I needed someone compassionate enough to wait through my bullshit of like everything macho, and he taught me a lot. And he actually became.
So did you ever go homeless through any of these periods?
I was homeless for 6 months.
At what time? After you got out of the jail, no one would hire you? So all the money, all the collateral, all the ownage of everything, where did all that go?
It went
the
in my
truck,
heart.
the houses.
It went in my heart. I lost the house. I lost the house at 25. What really sped up my addiction was I lost my job.
And this is while you were on probation as well, or?
Yeah. I ended up losing my job, and when I lost my job, I was home all the time. So I got hot all day long, and it made my addiction. I went from doing like a bag shot to doing a 10-bag shot, which the more heroin you do, the worse the withdrawal is. The more you're sunk in, like I was in it. It's about $600 a day. It all went in my arm. Everything that I
So you just started spending all the money and collateral you had basically on the drugs.
Yep, spending all my money. It got to the point where I would wait for people to call me so that we could go down and get shit. And, I would get so much for getting it for them, and, so that I could be well for the day. But then the next day, you wake up sick all over again. It's the lifestyle. It sucks. And there's only one way out, and that's to be sick. To go through the sickness is the only way out. Yes, baby.
It's time to see Happy Birthday.
Okay. All right.
Take a quick break.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get the car off the scales. Everything I needed to do with it. I am really happy with how this thing turned out.
So Dad and I reconciled, and it actually got to the point when he was dying. I went to the hospital at 2:30 in the morning and sat next to him, and he grabbed my hand, and he told me that he regretted how much he worked and didn't get to spend time with family, and he regretted what he did to us kids. And we got abused and shit like that, but if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have my own company. I wouldn't be ambitious enough. He instilled in me that you work, you bust your ass to get what you want. Life's not a fucking handout. Yay! You want some cake?
So, you got out of the whole deal.
Yeah, went to jail for a year.
Got out of it. You quit it in 2012.
Yep. So.
Did you get a job and everything then? Or?
So I couldn't find a job in Altoona, and I just feel like the universe has a way of working itself out. Because the day that I came home, I met my sponsor. Well, I met my sponsor before I came home, and he just so happened to have off that day, which he never has off. I had no license because of DUIs and everything like that.
And he wasn't your sponsor at the time, was he? He just ended up being.
Well, he was my sponsor. I found him while I was in rehab because they would take us to outside meetings.
And you talked about racing with him, I guess, or?
No, actually, I just liked him because of all his tattoos.
Oh, you mean like sponsor as far as like?
Teaching me how to live right.
Oh, okay.
And this guy, when he talks, you listen. He's so wise, and he really caught my attention. And so I asked him to be my sponsor, and he said yes. And I would call him twice a week from the rehab and from the halfway house. And just so happened the day that they were sending me home, they sent me home January 4th. And he had off that day. He took me to a meeting first thing in the morning, took me to another meeting in the afternoon, and took me to another meeting at night. And through that one day of me coming home, I made what they call a 90 and 90. It's 90 meetings in 90 days. And I made it 3 times in a row with no license. Just through people coming and getting me I mean, people would drive 30 minutes to come get me, to take me to a meeting, to make sure that I didn't use that day. And so that's how I got clean, was through NA. You know.
Well, and people not obviously showing they gave a shit by driving all those miles. You
Right.
didn't want to let them down in their efforts.
Right. I mean, those people, they deserve a lot of credit. You know.
And what year was that? 2013 or?
That would have been 2013. It would have been January 4th, 2013. Then, through all my using, I ended up getting hepatitis C. I went through treatment for that, so I don't have that anymore. That treatment was grueling. It's called the interferon treatment. They have one out now that's like, cupcake, but the one I went through was rigorous. It basically just drains your liver, and rebuilds.
Let your body rebuild it.
Yeah. I mean, it kills off, all your blood cells and stuff, and your body regenerates it. I think that's how it works. I can't remember. But my skin was turning yellow, my eyes were yellow, and because when I started using heroin, they didn't let you buy needles, so you would share needles.
Is that why they have those use stations on the West Coast?
Yeah, that's why they have them now, because so many people are getting AIDS.
So you think those are good things? The use stations, that's a debatable topic.
Well, I do believe it's a good thing, because the people that get clean, I don't know, because it could also not
It also
be
induces people to use,
Right.
because it's easier.
I mean,
But it sounds like in this situation, you don't really have choices. It's almost like a physical.
right. I mean, I would use a needle to the point where it was so dull that it would pop in my skin, or it would break in my skin, because you couldn't get them, and it was, I remember one time I was with a friend who had AIDS, and I didn't know which needle was mine. His was sitting here, mine was sitting there. We went, we got shit, we came back.
And the addiction was so bad that you took the roulette chance of it being?
I did. I took the chance of getting AIDS to get high.
Well, that kind of seems like the use stations may be a good thing in a weird, in the earth we live in way, because the earth we live in is not perfect.
Because also it could be a bad thing, because people need their bottom. They need to hit rock bottom to build back up.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe their rock bottom is getting Hep C, or maybe their rock bottom is getting AIDS, but at the same time...
Sounds like in this addiction you can't tell the difference.
You can't. I don't know what anyone else is rock bottom.
Because the feeling of it is not rock bottom. The rock bottom for you, it sounds like, was the getting caught, the life destroying situations that got you to the point where you were in rock bottom. Because you were using for years and you weren't in rock bottom.
No,
you was making rock bottom decisions, maybe.
Right, I was homeless. I went from owning my own house at 18 to being homeless. My mom, I had no money for food. My mom would bring me a box of Fruity Pebbles and a quart of milk, and that's what I would eat. I would go without eating for 5-6 days, and my mom would, she always said...
As long as you had the drugs, it was fine?
Yeah. And there was a lady who let me live with her for a while, and I'll always be thankful for her, but I'm sure I put her through hell too, We had nothing going on. She was just like a second mom to me. But my mom, when I was homeless, she used to bring me, a box of Fruity Pebbles. That was my choice, Fruity Pebbles.
Where were you at when you were homeless?
I've been in the park. I've been...
In the winter or the summer?
Summer.
Yeah, if you were homeless in the winter, you'd probably be dead. That's how I was talking to a cop in San Jose. He was a race fan, a fan of mine. And he's like, that's how homeless people die, is the weather. The elements is what kills them.
In Harrisburg, the homeless people, they'll go and stay on, grates that shoot hot air up There's a place where I stayed for a while it's called Tent City, and it's underneath a train bridge.
That's like all major cities have a tent city until you get to the West Coast and it's tent towns.
That's what I hear.
It's bad over there. But, I mean, apparently they're trying to take care of them by giving them the use stations. So, anyway, so you got clean, all that crazy shit goes down, and then you're just slowly rebuilding, I guess.
Slowly rebuilding.
And how did this whole deal come about? This whole shop connection?
So, I was working, and Dad said, "Do you want to start racing again?" And I was like, "Yeah." But just so happened that I was working a night shift job where I worked on Saturdays. So racing is Friday and Saturday, and I worked both. So he bought the car, and
what kind of car?
It was actually Sammy Swindell's old car. It was you know the name of it. What's the name? Stealth.
So the channel lock cars.
Yep. We actually have a picture of it and everything, but yeah, it was a Stealth that Sammy Swindell ran. And the driver, he has money, and he just didn't like having an older car. And so my dad let him go pick out the car he wanted. And so that's the car that we have now. And
so you had a driver at the time that picked it out?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the driver, he's a good guy. He's a hell of a nice guy.
Just you were going to start driving?
Well, they had a falling out. Dad felt like he was spending way too much money for mediocrity. And the guy...
And you were helping with the team the whole time?
No, I couldn't bear watching someone else be in the car that I was supposed to be in. You know, like, I love racing, and I'm not a crew pit guy. I'm the driver. And to watch someone else drive a car that I was supposed to drive just irked me. You know, I leave more upset than I did when
you weren't upset with that guy driving though, or?
I wasn't upset with him because, you know, he was just driving. He was willing to step aside any time that I can get the time. But I was working, you know, 2 full-time jobs, just trying to support my family.
And then they recently had a falling out?
They had a falling out. What happened was I bought my own company. I own my own business now. I do hardwood flooring, Redemption Hardwood Flooring, and obviously the redemption is, you know, clear.
Tied in with the life.
Yep.
Not going clear like Scientology clear, but
right. No Scientology, but
Tom Cruise, your favorite driver?
Cole Trickle's a damn good driver.
See, there it is. You know? That's how they get him right there, buddy.
Yep.
That's how they get. You mean Jeff Gordon or Cole Trickle? They're the same people, bud. You mean Rowdy or Dale Senior? Same people, bud. Yeah. Anyways, going clear once again. Leah Remy.
So I bought my own company, and I started doing that for a while. And the guy did so much work on the car and in the shop here that I didn't feel right taking the spot from him. So I just, you know, let him do it. And they had a little bit of a falling out. Dad said, "Do you want to drive?" And I said, "Hell yeah." So
how long ago was this? A month ago? 2 months ago?
A couple months ago. And he said, develop a crew, and then, you know, we'll go from there. And so I got a hold of my head mechanic there, Mark Mahaley, and he said that he had some stuff that he had to do as far as, you know, the micro and some events that he has to do, but that he would do it. And it's just been a great ordeal ever since. Like, you know, we worked really good together. We bounce ideas off of each other. And I'm finally starting to get the rhythm back to where I need to be to run up front. We found some mistakes that were put on the car that should have never been put on the car. I kept spinning out coming out of the turn, and turns out what it was is the axle was too far over and it was hitting the arm, and it was just looping me every time, and that's how I ended up flipping. But it took me flipping to finally realize what was wrong, and we got that fixed, and we went to go to another race, and we found out the engine, it's not blown, but the lifters aren't in the block, so we got to take that, get that worked on. And the next big show is October 12th at Port Royal, and the goal is to win. You know, I went from winning I've won probably 3/4 of my races. I know I have over 100 career wins, and I just want to get back there. You know, I think it's because that's the first time my dad ever told me he was proud of me, was winning. You know, it's just something real personal with me. Like, I'm not there to finish second, I'm not there to finish, you know, have a good track day. I'm there to win. And that's what I plan to do. You know, it's a little different driving not high. I drove a long time high, and what it did is it gave me balls of steel to where, like, I could run the high side like no other. You know, inches away from the wall, sometimes even scraping the wall. I mean, Mark, he's raced with me, he's raced against me, he's seen it firsthand.
Watch your race.
You know, he's seen it firsthand. I have no problem, well, I had no problem, you know, just putting my life at risk to win. And now I have a family, and being away from all the drugs has been amazing, you know. So it's like now here I am, I have this family, I'm married, and I'm in a race car that could take my life at any moment. So like now, like, I do have a little bit of fear, but I mean,
I think it's the fear to keep telling us in the car.
I think the moral of the story is, if you think racing is an addiction, then reference heroin and other things, because obviously it's not.
well,
Because your body doesn't
so
deteriorate.
I feel the same way in a race car that I do when I do heroin, and I feel free. I feel absolutely free. I love being in the race car, smelling that smell that the engine's putting off. You know, I love knowing that, you know, I'm going to go 100 plus miles an hour around the track, you know, with, you know, 23 other yahoos who want to do the exact same thing that I want to do, and that's win. And I don't know, I can't wait to get back, because as soon as we get that 305 set up and I'm winning, we're going straight to 410. And the goal is to not stop. Like, I want to take it as far as it will take me, you know.
So then, in essence, actually, racing is a worse addiction than heroin, because it's about equal, because you can die doing heroin or this.
Right, but in this, you die honest. You're not waking up robbing people. You're not selling your soul to the devil for another fix. You're out there having fun, enjoying life. You know, racing is a family sport. You know, it always has been for us. I was raised with racing. If you look back at that wall right there, there's pictures from way back when. You know, when I started racing, when my dad was racing. Like, it's been a family event ever since I was born. And I mean, my kids, like my daughter Serenity, my 4-year-old, you've seen her throughout the thing. Like, she loves racing. Baby, do you love racing? Yeah. You like seeing Daddy race?
When I get big, I can race you.
Exactly. Like, racing is a family sport, and it's what frees me up. But I don't know. This never happened when I was using. You know, my kids didn't love me. You know, I didn't love me. Nobody liked me, other than You know, people who were getting
The
shit
birds
from me.
flocking, yeah.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
like you.
I like you too, baby.
No, I said I like you.
I love you too. But I became a pretty good dad. And
Now you're supposed to try to be a better racer, I guess.
yep. Now the next goal is to win. Like I want to be a traveling 410 driver, kicking ass. It's a little hard at 32. It's a little late, but I hope it comes back. You know, it hasn't came back fully. You know, I still burp the throttle when I shouldn't. I still make driver errors, but I've only ran 3 races so far. You know, I feel like once I get about a half a year under my belt, you'll see me back in victory lane quite a bit.